What's up, GG fan, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're going to be checking out Jordan Peterson confronts Australian politician on gender politics and quotas. Now, we've checked out a few Jordan Peterson videos and I've gained that much more respect for the man because he stands by what he says, right? What he thinks is what he says. There's no filter on it, and that is what we need in today's society, because in today's society everything is pretty much sugar-coated. You can't distinguish between what is genuine and what is fake in today's society, and that's what most people are battling with. That is what most people are battling with within their social circles, when they're trying to build a social circle, when they're trying to make decent, trustworthy friends. That is what people are battling with. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you turn on the post notifications bell and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As a token of my gratitude to you, I'm going to provide you with 3 links to my motivational ebooks down below, completely 100% free to download. Go ahead, enjoy yourself, and enjoy the video.
There would come a time when people would not be judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. How is today's identity politics consistent with that vision?
Jordan Peterson.
Good question.
Well, I don't think it's consistent with that vision at all. I mean, the problem I have with identity politics as a mode of philosophical apprehension is that it's predicated on the idea that the appropriate way to classify people is by their group identity, in whatever fragmentary formulation that might take, in the multiplicity of ways that people can be divided into groups. And the classical postmodern, and I would also say Marxist way of viewing the world, even though those two things shouldn't be allowed together, they tend to be, is that group identity takes priority over individual identity, and I think that's precisely the opposite of what Martin Luther King was hoping for and working for. And I think it's unbelievably dangerous, because partly because when you assume that people should primarily be identified by their group, then you can also attribute group guilt to them by their group. And then
all right, so how I understand this is that what he's saying is that if you attach a certain identity to a group of people, immediately every single person in that whole group attains the attributes of the group, right? So if that group is known to be negative, if it has a negative connotation attached to it, violence, something along those lines, that each individual in that group is going to be viewed that way. And that's the issue that we're talking about, because not everyone in a group should be labeled that way, right? But this person might be this way, this person might be that way. It's all about embracing, or like he said, more of an individual identity than a group identity. I think that's a very important topic to talk about.
So attribute group guilt to them by their group. And then things go downhill very, very rapidly. And we've had no shortage of evidence of that sort of thing happening, say, throughout the 20th century.
Are there particular groups that you are more concerned about than others? For example, the Liberal Party, as Terry Butler said earlier, is a group. Are there groups that you think are more dangerous?
There isn't a problem with groups. The problem is with assuming that the fundamental way that you should categorize people is with their group identity. Obviously, we all belong to groups. The issue is whether or not the individual identity is primary and the group identity is secondary, or the group identity is primary and the individual identity is secondary. If you're a proponent, for example, of equality of outcome, of quotas, then you de facto accept the proposition that it's the group identity that is primary, and there's all sorts of dangers that are associated with that that far outweigh whatever good you're likely to do.
Okay,
well, maybe you're just...
That's so well stated.
Or maybe you just think that representative democracy should be representative. Maybe you just think that women should be equally represented in the decision-making fora of our nation. Maybe that's really just about
the problem is, I hear what you're saying, right? But then you have, as he said, the problem is you say, okay, she argues that women should be equally represented in certain fields or in many fields. But then you have certain individuals within that group who not only want equality, but they also want that dominance, right? They go to the extreme. And then the problem is that whole group is going to be categorized as extreme, right? And that has a negative effect on how we view the modern feminist movement, according to my analogy.
In the decision-making fora of our nation. Maybe that's really just about having proper equality in a body that's meant to be representative.
Well, I do believe that women should have. I don't understand your question, I guess.
I guess you don't. That's pretty
I don't-
obvious, unfortunately.
Well, how about if you phrase it more clearly instead of just insulting me? Look at it this way. Let's talk about quotas for a minute. So there's a very wide array of jobs that are fundamentally done by men. So, for example,
Member of Parliament, the Liberal Party.
99.9% of
Sorry, Alex, I'm going to
bricklayers.
stop sledging you now, I promise.
I'm happy to give my minute to Jordan.
99.9% of bricklayers are men.
Yep.
Should we have quotas for women?
Is bricklaying representative democracy?
Stop the cherry picking.
That has nothing to do with the question. The question is if there's evidence of structural inequality and oppression because women aren't precisely represented at 50% in all professions at all levels, then why don't we have a conversation about having women represented in all professions at all levels?
There we go.
Why do we talk?
Is that not the true meaning of equality? If you're a certain group in a society and you're striving for equality, right? It should be striving for equality across the board. You can't cherry pick the areas that you want equality for. I mean, if you're really fighting, if you're really serious about that, and you're really fighting for your purpose and for equality as a whole, then you need to implement equality as a whole, right? It needs to be fought for on every single front in every single industry. Now she's saying, oh, but parliament, law, all of these high-paying positions. Why do you cherry pick? I thought you were fighting for equality. Now you're cherry picking. So what do you really want?
Talk about the C-suite, for example. Why do we talk about politics and positions of power? Why don't we talk about it across the board?
Okay,
we're
so
talking about
let's just
politics,
pause and...
Yeah, but that's because
We're
it's
talking about
power.
You pose a question to Terry Butler. Go ahead and answer it. Then we'll hear from the other panellists.
What do you hear?
His question to me.
Well, yeah, if you'd
About
like,
bricklayers.
if you'd like to answer the question about bricklayers.
There's nothing
please.
wrong with
Why there are
bricklayers.
no
Of course
quotas
there's
in
not.
Well, there we go. Yeah, so it's a bit of a two-way street at the moment. I mean, on the one hand, it is a good thing, right? Fighting for equality is always going to be a good thing, right? Because we deserve a fair and equal society. That's just how things, in my view, should be. But now you have certain individuals. Unfortunately, this is what we talked about with the whole group identity thing. You are characterizing each individual based on their group, and they might not be, not at all like their group, right? This person might be that way. This person might have this type of personality, but now you're ascribing a negative connotation to the individual because of the group. So that's the problem that we have in today's society. That today there are too many groups, right? There are too many groups. Every day a new one is popping up, and we're starting to get confused. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you'd like to see more content like this, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you turn on the post notifications because I upload as frequently as I possibly can. You don't want to miss out. I'll see you next time.